the Open when we were in Las Vegas doing coverage. So no stranger to winning is Job. He's playing Esper Devotion. That is not a mistype. Esper Devotion. I'll let you kind of gloss over that for us.
So it's kind of an Esper control deck. It has some elements of it. It has Frostborn Weird and Night Veil Spectre to turn on Thassa and Master of Waves. Also plays Detention Sphere and Chase Architect of Thought. So there are a reasonable amount of blue devotion. Thassa is also pretty powerful on its own in certain control decks because you're just the Scry 1 every turn is, a reasonable thing to be doing. But this deck to me is reminiscent of, we saw some builds of this at Pro Tour Dragon's Maze, at least in Cyborg configuration, where Esper decks would try to go into more of an aggressive shell, whether it was things with Frostborn Weird, Night Veil Spectre, Precinct Captain. We've seen these cards before appear in Esper lists, and Jonathan Job is taking it 1 or 2 steps further by incorporating a more dedicated devotion shell.
Yeah, I mean, his deck, it feels like it's a little bit all over the place, but there's certainly a plan here. And just tying it all together.
Dude, Nykthos plus Sphinx's Revelation is pretty sweet.
I think it's pretty sweet.
That's a combo.
Speaking of Nykthos, looks like we're having a Nykthos activation here with Wong. Tapping and untapping it with Voyaging Satyr. So 2, 4, 6, 7 on those Nykthos activations. 7, 14, so maybe 12 mana around here for that Pelucranos?
Yeah.
That's a little bit scary.
Yeah, I was recently humiliated in similar fashion by this exact setup.
Yeah.
I mean, he had me at Pelucranos, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough just to kill me. It had to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, pew pew, kill a lot of things is what Pelucranos just did. So that Hydra is a very large and in charge. Here's a Jace. All right, so Night Veil Spectre, Syncopate, and Temple of Silence. The big question here is, are verdicts looming there for Job and his deck? And it looks like he has 3 in his main deck.
3 copies, and does not appear to have the 4th on the sideboard.
Okay. So time to split these up if you can, Mr. Wong. And it looks like he's going to go Syncopate versus. Potentially. Doesn't look like he's too sure just yet.
To me, the best card here appears to be the land. We're kind of hopping in the middle of the game, obviously, so it's a little rough. But Syncopate certainly can't be too threatening in the face of your Nykthos and 10,000 mana.
Sure.
But again, we're sort of hopping in here with no context, so.
See a Revelation in Job's hand right now too. Gonna play a land, and now there is that Spectre. So that thing might be on. I guess that thing's not on blocking duty because now the Devotion is on for our good friend Thassa. And it looks like Wong is cardless at this point. So you see Wong's board of a large Pelucranos. There's a Domri. There's a Domri off camera that we will push on camera for you. So we're gonna slide everything down for you guys.
Or Alan just did a very not subtle cheat.
Yes, yeah, just aggressive. So now there's a Burning Tree Emissary. Here's an activation.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 mana floating.
I feel
10 if there's a Domri.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna see. I think the last card in his hand is an Arbor Colossus. If that's the case, this gets ugly.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
Arbor Colossus is insane right now because what Arbor Colossus can do is its Monstrosity activation, shoot down your Night Veil Spectre, turn off the Devotion for Thassa, and lethal you. Yeah, and so everything's going to get slid down here so we can get a better idea. The Domri's is still a little bit off camera, so you see both players trying to organize the game state a little bit better for you guys at home so you can see, but we know there's a Domri out there, and we know that Arbor Colossus came in and just nerfed something.
Yeah, I'm having one of those Burning Tree Emissaries is summoning sick.
Yeah. So one of those Burning Trees will not get to attack because that just came into play, and you see that's all fixed. And that's going to do it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, those turns. I'm having some flashbacks to some Moto matches I've been playing recently, watching 30 mana getting activated and Pelucranos and it's a tough row to hoe, that's for sure.
All right, so game 1 goes to the Green Red Devotion deck. It doesn't make you wonder how Mahara did so well at the Pro Tour with that deck, because when you have draws like that,
that deck's really fun. That deck's also really fun to play.
It's really fun and ridiculously powerful when you do draw Nykthos and things line up appropriately. It's like very difficult to lose. As we'll go to the sideboards here. You've got Jobs. Now we know his main deck is a little crazy. I don't know what's in his sideboard, so let me know that.
He's actually basically coloring inside the lines when it comes to the sideboard. He's got an ultimate price and 2 copies of Doomblade he can bring in here. He has a Thoughtseize that I actually like against a Mahara's deck. 2 Gainsays not bringing in a Negate, Glare of Heresy not bringing in. 2 copies of Jace Memory Adept, 3 Ashiok's, and 2 Last Breaths, all of which strike me as kind of fringe or marginal cards. But I do expect the additional spot removal and the Thoughtseize to come in.
Sure. Taking a look at Wong's sideboard here, you got 3 Sylvan Primordial, 2 Rurikthar the Unbowed, 4 Nylea's Disciple more for your mono red matchups, a Singleton Bow of Nylea, 3 copies of Mistcutter Hydra, and 2 copies of Mizian Mortars. So I expect to see Rurikthar and Mistcutter Hydra come in. The rest of the cards I don't really care very much for. Sylvan Primordial is certainly fine, but it is expensive. And how many expensive cards do you actually want to have at your sideboard? And you're boarding in Rurikthar and Mistcutter Hydra already as well. That would really overload things for him and put a lot of, emphasis on Sylvan Caryatid, Voyaging Satyr, those sort of cards. Where, I think there's a certain number of expensive cards you can have in your deck. I don't think that number is like, 10 to 12.
Yeah, particularly when you're playing against a deck like Esper where they have access to cards like Supreme Verdict, you don't want to be leaning that heavily on your mana creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm really intrigued by is Mizian Mortars, because on the surface of it, Job's deck is susceptible to Mortars. He has both Frostborn Weird and Night Veil Spectre. But there's 2 things going on here. One is you don't know if Job has some sort of full conversion sideboard that allows him to get these kind of creatures out of their deck altogether. So there's some risk in bringing in the removal. And secondly, when you have Dolmery in your deck, the opportunity cost for bringing up spells goes up quite a bit.
Sure.
So if it's a fringe case to begin with, do you want to bring in Mortars knowing that it's going to make your Dolmerys worse and that Job might have bailed on a lot of his creatures to begin with in the post-board games?
Well, we'll see how both players do end up sideboarding here as they are putting the finishing touches up. If you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, Star City Games Open Series here in Los Angeles. We are at Stan Lee's Kamikaze, and we are having an absolute blast here at this convention as we are in round number 6 of 10 of our Standard Open. We did see Ben Lundquist already defeat Ricky Sitter, giving Sitter his 2nd loss, and Benny Beatdowns with his Boros deck is going to move on to 5-1, see if he can make top 8 this weekend. Did see Huey Jensen, I believe, walking with a match slip just a little bit earlier as well, so it looks like he'll be moving on to 5-1. We'll be keeping track of, players like Josh Utter-Layton and some of the other big names in the field all weekend long, as we do try to crown ourselves a champion here in Los Angeles.
Yes, in the shadow of the Staples Center.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, what a center it is.
It is.
That's a big stadium.
It is. It is quite large.
Yeah, it looks a lot bigger than most basketball stadiums that you do see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they also have a hockey arena involved there. It's a relatively new stadium, seats like 20,000. I mean, it's a big arena.
Okay. I always wonder why basketball stadiums don't seat like as many as baseball stadiums and stuff.
I think the game does not lend itself to being watched from 100 yards away.
Okay.
Whereas baseball is still fine.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Makes sense. So again, green devotion mirrors, basically. I mean, we're looking at decks that are basically based around Nykthos. And that card, I know when I first saw it, first thing you think of, obviously, is Cabal Coffers.
Yep.
And then you think about, okay, what's the best way to break this thing open, and is it worth it to break this thing open? The best way to do it, obviously, is, cards like Night Veil Spectre and other such things that provide a lot of devotion. And the answer to, is it worth it, as we found out at Pro Tour Theros, was a resounding yes.
Yeah, Cabal Coffers deck building puzzle is really simple. It's just play a bunch of swamps.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it's asking you to do. So when you see a card like Nykthos, which is asking you to do a lot more to unlock its power, it's very easy for players to dismiss that kind of card because their frame reference is Cabal Coffers, where, again, the puzzle is very easy to solve.
Sure.
How do I make this thing powerful? But like you said, Pro Tour Theros definitely demonstrated, when the world's best players and deck builders got their hand on the card, it was a huge portion of that metagame.
Yeah, and it
It
dominated.
Right, there were some decks that played one copy for value. There were some decks that were, like Mahara's, I would say, which were much more built around it. But it showed up all over the place.
Yeah. So we do have passerby James Gates. A lot of people wondering how he's doing with his mono red deck. 6-0 now. 6-0 with his mono red Nykthos deck.
We gotta get James on camera.
We gotta talk to Glenn about that.
Oh yeah. And my coffee. Still have not. I still have not gotten.
As Job is going to take at least one mulligan, he's going down to at least 6 cards, and Alan Wong is going to follow suit. Coffee, huh? You're an old man. Black coffee, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so bad. So bad.
Anything else you put in, it just dilutes that bitter coffee taste.
That's that bitter coffee taste is really not good. That's the problem with it.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree.
Yeah,
here.
that's the problem. I need as much milk and sugar as you can put in there.
Yeah, but I got that old man palate though, for sure.
That's true. That's true. You're just old and angry with your thinning hair, and you need. I don't know why I brought your hair into this, but I did.
Right.
It was unnecessary.
It's gonna come for you one of these days too, my friend.
No way. No way. I don't think so.
We had Thomas Pinnell just wander by. He is 6-0 with mono red.
Jeez. Them beatdowns.
Ugh.
I think it's going to be a Gates Pinnell match we might see soon here.
That would be one for the ages.
Yeah, we had a feeling that red was going to be. This was the weekend to do it.
Listen, I can only hand everyone out there my deck list via Facebook and Kibler's article. After that, it's
up to
the
you.
people to assemble it.
Yeah.
You know. That's all I can do.
Both players taking a look at 6 here. Job's happy, Wong's happy. Game 2 underway. Job going to start with Hallowed Fountain. There's a Temple of Abandon for Alan Wong. And the opening turns are underway here. Detention Sphere the draw for John as he's going to play another Hallowed Fountain and kick it back. I think we're going to see some mana acceleration. We are. And Sylvan Caryatid for Wong before he passes back to Job, who draws an island for the turn. There's a bunch of Detention Spheres over there and no target for him right now.
He has it looks like his hand is a Jace and a bunch of Detention Spheres.
Yeah.
There's Polukranos.
Your favorite.
Oh yeah. He is just doesn't stop beating me, basically. Number 2. A lot of action for Job's Detention Spheres here. We're going to see if Alan can eventually get a threat to stick or if...
Job just said, I'm going to kill them all. Every legendary Hydra that you have is going to die. The bad thing here for Job, too, is here's a bunch of mana. Now, there's an Arbor Colossus, is that, he'd rather, save those Detention Spheres for, Planeswalkers, but it's just like, Polukranos, I got to kill that right now. And, yep, Detention Sphere that one, too. So, your turn.
The red-green deck has so many insanely powerful threats.
And you see a Mistcutter Hydra. And there's
Garrett.
Yeah, and there's Garrett. And see, that's the thing you want an Attention Sphere. Luckily for Job, he has another one, but now Garrett comes into play. You got to up that baby. Yep, so let's take a look at the top 5. There's a Temple, a Voyaging Satyr, a Scavenging Ooze, a Sylvan Caryatid, and a Forest. So that's going to bring 3 cards to Wong's grip. And yes, that Garrett is going to get Detention Sphere, so that'll be number 4. But now the rest of the Planeswalkers are safe.
Yeah. It is really hard to fight this kind of fight against Red-Green Devotion. I mean, you can't sit on your hands all day. They have so many powerful cards or things that have value when they come into play, so removing them isn't the best thing,
So Wong's going to draw a card here. So now the Planeswalkers are basically taken care of. This is a bunch of mana. That is, oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Hoodle Alley.
That is a Sylvan Primordial, and that's a Hammer Lamma Ding Dong if I've ever seen one.
Oh, and it goes in, that's a sweet new interaction. The Primordial and the Scrylands. So you get to
that's cute. That's like Primeval Titan Valakut.
It's very similar.
That's like the same thing.
It's very similar.
Yeah. So we'll bring Sylvan Primordial up on the screen because not only does it currently, embarrassing Jonathan Job, but it's also just happens to be a 6/8. As here, Garrick activation going to reveal a land, a Garrick, a Nykthos, a land. It bricked. I'm not sure it matters.
Yeah, so unlucky.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that it matters. And so now when does he get to? Okay, so he already scryed, right?
I don't know.
I believe he did.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a forest card, so he doesn't. It's a forest card, not a temple.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
sorry.
so he gets a stomping ground. All right, so yeah, running kind of bad, I guess.
He went and got the temple, it looked like, so I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought
the temple and stomping ground look like exactly the same. Yeah, so I actually got kind of excited there for a minute too that he could search out any land that he wanted to, but that'd be too broken.
Yeah.
So. All right, here is a Master of Waves. Going to make 3 tokens. Actually 4. There's 3 spheres out there plus the Master itself, so there's a couple of creatures there.
It's been a long time since I've been cutting Sylvan Primordial from my Gatecrash draft decks, so
Sure.
I wasn't that up to date with the text box.
Completely understand. I actually found the blue Primordial in my bedroom underneath my my office chair a couple days ago.
So it looks like he has brought in the mortars, but he finds a Burning Tree Emissary and another Primordial. So
Primordial is Boy, is it good right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
with Job not really applying any pressure or doing anything to disrupt what Allen's doing, he's kind of has free reign to do whatever he wants. And of the whatevers you could choose from, this is pretty good.
I am inclined to agree with you, my friend. Looks like we're going to see Burning Tree Emissary here. Yep, trigger. Give me a red and a green. See exactly how Wong wants to play the rest of this turn out. See him pumping a bunch of mana. I think it's probably just going to be another Primordial, I would think. But I could be wrong about that. Just a gigantic Mistcutter Hydra.
Sure.
Sure. So in for 7.
That's not shabby here either.
No, not at all. So now Job has to deal with that, and if you see Job's hand, he's got a copy of Last Breath and 2 copies of Jace, Architect of Thought.
So he did bring in the Last Breaths?
Yeah. Gonna take a draw step here. It's gonna find, looks like an Azorius Guildgate, I believe.
There are 3 in there, so yes.
That draw step, I think, needed to be Supreme Verdict.
And even then, Garrick's still floating around and untold monsters in Allen's hand.
Uh-huh. Still going to be very, very difficult for Job to get himself out of this one. I think it starts with Jace and minusing. I think that's step 1. And here is Jace. That is going to minus. So here's 1, Frostborn Weird. Here's 2, Sphinx Revelation. There's 3 in Doomblade. Doomblade versus, I think, is a pretty easy separation.
Yep.
Doesn't have enough time to cast Revelation, nor is the life that's going to gain relevant. And Frostborn Weird, not you. You don't do very much.
You are outclassed.
Yes. There's an Azorius Guildgate coming into play tapped, which means Job cannot cast Doomblade. Gonna unhappily pass the turn back. Wong gonna quickly untap, and if he's able to find another Mistcutter Hydra here, that's okay.
Sure.
Yep, that happened. He's gonna tap a whole bunch of mana, and that's gonna be for enough to kill Jonathan Job. So, Alan Wong is gonna win this match, 2-0. Green-Red Devotion taking down Job's Esper Devotion deck in what seems to be an actually pretty difficult matchup for Job.
Well,